You don't need superstars in order to be a contender. And this edition of high school boys basketball features two teams who may not be on a first-name basis, but they possess a lot of talent. The number one team in Class 4A, the Eden Prairie Eagles at 17-0, pay a visit to the defending Class 3A state champion, DeLaSalle Islanders at 13-2. Greetings, everyone. I'm Mike Peden, and joining me is somebody, I don't know who this is. Who are you again?
I'm Jared Martinson. Glad to be with you, Mike.
Jared Martinson. Actually, he is the broadcaster for Bethel University Sports and also a contributor for North Star Hoops. So this guy knows what he's talking about. Jared, this was one of the big dates on the calendar when the schedules came out. And intriguingly, David Flum, Eden Prairie's head coach, wanted to move this game to DeLaSalle. It was originally going to be held at their place, but he figured if Eden Prairie could win here, they could win anywhere. The thing is, no matter where Eden Prairie has gone, they've won.
Yeah, they're 17-0. I mean, they have the whole formula. 4 starters that probably will hit 1,000 points for a career, which is unheard of, hasn't happened before. Really, nobody's touched them. They've got one of the hardest schedules in 4A. They still have to play Minnehaha Academy as well, so another great test for Eden Prairie here late in the season.
Some of those guards going to big-time schools, a couple of mid-major D1s, although you don't want to discount mid-majors these days. Drake Dobbs, Connor Christensen are among them. Drake Dobbs leading the way, but over the last several years, that senior class, they've grown up together, and one of those teams that proves that balance sometimes outperforms a superstar talent.
Yeah, I mean, those guys have been state contenders since they were sophomores. I remember we would watch them. I picked them to win the state title as sophomores, and they didn't get there, but really, really fun team to watch. They've played together forever. Lost a couple guys along the way, but overall their core 4 have stuck with it, and they're just an incredibly talented team. Really, really fun to watch as they compete.
DeLaSalle not lacking in talent either. A lot of folks wondered what would happen to them after their big-name superstars graduated. Folks like Gabe Kalsher, Tyrell Terry, the list goes on. They're getting it done with Kate Haskins, Jalen Travis, names that may not jump out at you, but DeLaSalle, they have the history, they have the pedigree. Travis Bledsoe, a student of the formula David Thorson put in at DeLaSalle, and I'm not saying the Islanders are surprising people, but they're 13-2 and moving right along.
They have the formula like they always do, a big-time scorer. Kate Haskins is a name that everyone should start to know. Already has a Division I offer from North Dakota. He's putting up 17 a game. Jalen Travis anchors the middle, like you said, at 6'7", strong football player kind of guy. And then they have a plethora of guards to really hound the opposing backcourts, and they just make things happen. They're a results-based team, and every year they're going to be a threat to win.
What will this game come down to in order for either of these teams to get an edge?
For Eden Prairie, I think it's their guard depth. They only play 6 or 7 guys, but DeLaSalle has the guard depth to kind of throw at them defensively. Guys like Drew Irvin, Evan Boyd can really get in a guy's shorts. So I think it's up to Eden Prairie's depth and who can be a secondary ball handler for them. And meanwhile, for DeLaSalle, can Kate Haskins get hot? Because when he does, if he hits a couple threes in a row, he is unconscious, can't miss. One of the more premier scoring talents that we've ever seen around here.
And speaking of his three-point prowess, he hit one at the buzzer last night to beat Holy Angels in an emotional win. And as you can see behind us, a lot of folks are pumped up emotionally to see what happens, so we'll bring you the game in a moment. Twin Cities Sports Broadcasting and a whole lot more. That's what you get from TSB Television. We provide long-lasting digital coverage of your favorite athletes from the preps to the pros. Dazzling moves. Holloman, good if it goes. Yes! Game winners. From James. She's in trouble. Finds James. Toss shot! It goes in! And everything in between. Before we let you go, do you want to say hi to anybody?
Oh, I don't know. Let's put me on the spot there.
If you want to connect with our audience, visit us at patreon.com/TSB Television or sponsor our coverage through PayPal and Cash App. Thank you for watching. And we welcome you back to the Big D on the island of Nicollet. Mike Peden and Jared Martinson here. Jared, you and I paid many visits to this gym. You call it one of your favorites. What is it about this atmosphere that stands out?
It's a small little place confined to, just around the edges of the baseline. We got the upper level here that's filled to the top. Just a lot of fun to be in such a small space. This place gets loud. DeLaSalle is known for their crowds that they draw every game. And against an opponent like Eden Prairie, there's nothing better.
Of course, you and I were both here for the DeLaSalle Minnehaha doubleheader where it was standing room only. Well, it's not the biggest gym, but so much history, and I think that adds to it. And going back to the Open, that is why David Flum said, I want to see if we can win at a place like this.
Yeah, Eden Prairie, I think, is ready for this test. They play such good teams throughout the year that it won't really matter where they play. They know they're going to have their best game ready to go, and especially against DeLaSalle, like on their home court. Really, really fun atmosphere to be able to test themselves in.
DeLaSalle, of course, holds the all-time record for most consecutive state titles. They won 7 in the last decade, 6 in a row. And then Travis Bledsoe picked up where they left off. His first year, of course, they had that upset loss to Columbia Heights. They took the crown last year. Here are the starting 5 for the two teams. For Eden Prairie, it's Drake Dobbs, number 11, John Henry, number 13, Miles Frisch, number 15, Connor Christensen, number 24, and Austin Andrews, 33. DeLaSalle will start Kwan White, number 12, Cade Haskins, 14, Andrew Irvin, number 20, Samaj Hart, number 22, and Jalen Travis, number 44. Yeah, you look at that banner of all the state championships for boys basketball, and I think they've just about run out of room. 7 and 8 years.
An elite program just overall as we get started here.
7 and 8 years. They didn't get their first one until 88, if I recall. And then Dave Thorson won one in 98, 2006, but 2011 is when things really took off.
Yeah, credit Dave Thorson for all the work that he put in to create this foundation. Just an excellent coach. Now at the Division I college level as an assistant.
And that's where he was before he took the DeLaSalle job. He was part of the Minnesota staff. And one of his proteges now coaching the Islanders. But it's Connor Christensen who gets us started with the step-back 3. David Flum, head coach of the Eagles. DeLaSalle rolling out new uniforms this year. Travis Bledsoe joked that he calls them the Mind Stone uniforms in reference to one of the Infinity Stones. Eden Prairie finds a lane, and Austin Andrews puts it in.
Andrews so good on that low block. He's a little undersized, about 6'5", but his footwork, his ball handling under the rim in tight spaces, and is just really can't really fathom it.
Haskins missing the 3. Well, in the Fantastic Four for EP, Drake Dobbs averaging 18.8, Austin Andrews 16.8, John Henry 13.9, Connor Christensen 13 a game, and it's been that way ever since that group of 4 got together.
Yeah, like we said in the Open, they've been playing together forever. Even as sophomores, they were state title favorites at one point. I think that year they beat the #1 team in every class throughout the season. I think DeLaSalle, Minneapolis North, Minnehaha Academy, and Cretin-Durham Hall all in that same season.
Cade Haskins knocks down the elbow J. The fun fact this year, Eden Prairie undefeated. They have beaten 8 ranked teams in Class 4A. And they're playing the defending state champions in 3A and the #1 team in 3A on February 18th. In Minnehaha Academy.
Yeah, like we said, that schedule does them no favors playing such elite competition at all levels. Minnehaha and DeLaSalle, 2 of the tougher teams, not even in their own class.
Jalen Travis showing that football strength of his, got the rebound and muscled his way in for 2. Travis will go to Princeton to play football. And part of a long lineage, you may know of his older brothers, Jonah and Reed. Austin Andrews spots a hold down low and drains the reverse. and it's 7-4.
Interesting. We were seeing John Henry really playing way off of Kawan White over there. You see White's all alone by himself. Henry's playing in the lane, doubling down on Jalen Travis.
Yeah, White could have taken a three if he wanted. He had all the space. In fact, he still is given plenty of space to work with. Henry focused more on the paint. Elbow J no good. And that may be acknowledging how tough Jalen Travis is to defend.
Yeah, that's definitely a game plan from David Flom. I would assume that White is more of a non-shooter type that they can help off of.
Well, let's see if he gives him that space again. Well, this time he's not on White. There's White with the ball. And Connor Christensen defending him, same thing. They're giving him a lot of space. Off the screen, Haskins doesn't get the three, but Jalen Travis is there for the rebound. Reed and Jonah, both D1 basketball standouts. And his sister, maybe not as famous, but his sister hit a buzzer beater a few years ago to win a section game to help the Islanders reach state for the first time as Tanisha Scott's tenure as head coach. DeLaSalle struggling to find their shot in the opening minutes.
Some early shots here in possessions, but there's John Henry who does the same thing and knocks it down.
Timeout, DeLaSalle. Eden Prairie with a 10-4 lead over DeLaSalle. And we have a near capacity crowd. We figured this would be a big one. Cretin-Durham Hall's coaching staff on hand. Actually, with my camera off from earlier, James, he did the Maranatha North games with us. He came out just to get some photos, and even some of the girls athletes are coming in. It's a big basketball community, as you know, and if you get a matchup like this, you show up.
Absolutely. I've seen some other college coaches in the building as well. St. Thomas's staff here. North Dakota head coach Paul Sather is here. He's a Minnesota guy. He has offered Kate Haskins, the star junior for DeLaSalle, so he's in the building watching him.
And I think it owes to the rising culture of basketball. We were talking off broadcast, the 17,000 plus who saw Minnehaha Academy in Sarah Canyon at Target Center. And with the rivalry games, DeLaSalle, Minnehaha, you and I were there for that sellout crowd. This place was packed to the brim. And one of my early memories in girls basketball, oddly enough, was the Angel Robinson years, Central and South, Taylor Hill as well. The whole South gym was full. Good to see. Now, how do the Islanders get out of this funk? Once again, Travis being doubled up. White will try the three this time. They may not give him that much space now.
Now that he's hit one, I would assume Eden Prairie is going to have to step out and guard him a little closer.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to help as much. But there's John Henry, says right back at you. His second triple. Well, there you see Henry getting a little closer to him. Jalen, you'll give him some space. That's not his game. That's going to be a walk on Samaj Hart, number 22.
24, Evan Boyd in for DeLaSalle.
And we mentioned buzzer beaters. DeLaSalle, who can forget in 2012 when they knocked off Washburn. Ross Barker, I think his name was, corner three to win it.
Yeah, that was a tiny bit before my time. I was just a little 8th grader back then, watching that famed Osseo team. I'm a Maple Grove guy, but I grew up watching how dominant Osseo was, going to all those games. Sam Dower is a name that I'm reminded of back in 2009. Ian Tyson obviously hitting that game-winning shot in the state title game in 2012, but just so many great postseason memories that involve teams like DeLaSalle.
Well, when you've won 7 state titles in 8 years, you're going to have a few. 3 from the top of the key. Henry can't knock it down. Offensive rebound, Cade Haskins, who hit a buzzer beater of his own.
Yeah, that was kind of a surprise game Friday night with DeLaSalle barely holding on. Haskins hitting the buzzer beater to beat Holy Angels in Holy Angels Gym. The Stars have had somewhat of a less than expected season. They're, I think, 11-6 on the year. Everyone thought they'd be a little bit better than that, but even still, surprised DeLaSalle had that much trouble with them.
Sometimes you catch an opponent on a good night, things can happen. Haskins looking to get open. That's Amir Everett, number 10. Haskins got open, bullseye. One of his defenders lost his balance and fell. I'm not sure if there was contact, but that freed up Haskins.
Like I said, if he gets 1, 2 good looks in a row, he's going to go on a little bit of a streak.
Picking up where he left off last night, losing his balance was Drake Dobbs, stays with it, and that will be Eden Prairie ball. In reference to last night's game, I read the reports, and for a while, this game was on their minds, but they said the Holy Angels rivalry was enough to keep them focused. That being said, you got a back-to-back, both teams did. EP had Minnetonka, that won a runaway win. DeLaSalle had to sweat it out with Holy Angels, so no advantage as far as rest is concerned. But you wonder if that would get DeLaSalle prepped for this. And not to say EP isn't. Again, 8 of their wins have come against ranked 4A teams. But Minnetonka not quite at their plane. Holy Angels maybe a little bit down compared to last year, but still a solid team.
What we're seeing now that Haskins has gotten hot, getting a couple threes off, they're running a lot of double staggered down screens for him to come down into the corners and onto the wings. So we'll see if they continue to go to that, just use their big bodies to set screens for him, try to free him up for open shots.
Will Foster on the floor for the Eagles. Evan Boyd, he's number 24 for the Islanders. Andrew Irvin out to Haskins, long skip to Evan Boyd. Travis, whoa, that was close. Haskins, that's an offensive foul. Haskins might have pushed a little too hard. And Haskins, oddly enough, one of those guys you would not have heard about last year. He's kind of come out of nowhere in a sense.
Yeah, he transferred from Washburn in the middle of his freshman season and had to play JV last year, had to sit out from varsity.
That's why.
So now he's only got 2 years of varsity play, but he's making the most of it so far.
Connor Christensen, the lane opened up and he took it home. Well, that's why I didn't hear about Cade Haskins. That's an interesting situation. Reminds me a bit of JP McCure. Now, McCure didn't transfer. He didn't play varsity. Oh, that's a traveling violation. Samaj Hart looked like he wanted to go for the layup and then changed his mind at the last second. But McCure, a late bloomer, and Cade Haskins having to miss 2 whole seasons of varsity, effectively.
And he's grown a couple inches as well over the last year. Was about 6'4". Now he's probably a legitimate 6'6". That size makes him way more of a Division I prospect than he was before.
Give and go, and the Eagles cash in. Austin Andrews. He's going to UMD. 12 points or more in every game this season. He has 3 20-point games. The other players a little more variable in their scoring, but you're going to hear this a lot with that quartet for Eden Prairie consistency.
Yeah, Andrew's been a varsity player since 8th grade. He actually went to Maranatha as an 8th grader and then transferred to Eden Prairie. Just one of the best examples of solid play that you'll see. Like you said, consistency, really strong footwork, patient under the rim. Again, undersized, but he's a perfect Division II forward prospect.
When you think of Maranatha, all the names that have come through that moved to other schools, how strong that program, how much talent they possess. Chase Carter, of course, moved to Minnehaha to play for his dad. Demario Armstrong, he was a standout at Maranatha before he transferred to Osseo his last year. Responsible for getting Maranatha to state twice against Minneapolis North. That's a turnover on the Islanders. Eagles with an 18-10 lead. Now you got a Drake commit, a Dartmouth, Liberty I should say. Drake there's a Drake University and then Drake Dobbs. That could be confusing. And then you've got Will Falster knocking down corner threes. Timeout Islanders. I was going to say you've got a Liberty commit, a Dartmouth commit, a UMD, and Sioux Falls. Not quite Gonzaga or Minnesota or Stanford, but Eden Prairie finding a way to impressed all of us here these last few years.
Yeah, those guys are going to be great college players all around. Dobbs, I think, is almost underrated for Liberty. He could come in right away and play a big part as a lead ball handler. Andrews is part of a stellar class going to Duluth with Charlie Katana from Shakopee. And now Lincoln Meister, a Rochester John Marshall product as well, who just announced the other day. Sioux Falls always has good shooters. Henry will fit in really nicely right there. And Connor Christensen headed to Dartmouth, which he's just a really smart kid. I think he actually wants to kind of enter the media field. I've seen him talking to Jim Peterson every once in a while after Timberwolves games. So he'll have plenty of options as well, and he's just one of the best two-way players I've seen. He might be my favorite player in this 2020 class.
You might be able to give him a few pointers. Maybe you should have him sit in on one of your Bethel games. Well, he's a little young, so he's got his own games to play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think his Saturdays will be taken up throughout the rest of the year with some big games like this one.
Absolutely. And Dartmouth, one of the Ivy League schools. Offensive foul, not what DeLaSalle wanted on the ATO play with 9:22 left in the first half.
We talk about Eden Prairie's balance of scoring, but their defense, really one of the best that you'll see. And DeLaSalle, obviously a strong defensive team themselves, but 10 points halfway through this half with Haskins and Travis as guys who really are like legitimate scoring threats. And Eden Prairie has the size disadvantage. Just so fun to watch these guys play as a team.
There's another example. Connor Christensen with the layup. For context, DeLaSalle averages 69 a game, Eden Prairie 80. So DeLaSalle, they can score in bunches. At Eden Prairie, they had a 100-point game earlier this week, beating St. Michael Albertville. Jalen Travis, if you get one-on-one coverage with him, it's going to be hard to stop. Eden Prairie with a quick three. And a foul on the reach-in by Miles Frisch. And that was Josh Thorough making the call. It's intriguing that he's officiating this game. It's kind of full circle because he's going to be hosting, well, his school is, these two teams, Eden Prairie on February 18th and DeLaSalle on the 22nd. DeLaSalle this year could be a state tournament contender.
Absolutely. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see DeLaSalle and Minnehaha in that state title game. Really, I mean, Mankato East will make a bid as well. They're an extremely good team. A couple other squads in 3A that are legit, but right now I think it's DeLaSalle, Minnehaha. Those will be that's probably the best prediction for the Class 3A title game.
Well, last year I noted if you had a Sweet 16 format, how much attention you could draw to it because Hopkins was the 4A champion, DeLaSalle beat them, and then Minnehaha, the 2A champion, beat DeLaSalle, the 3A champion. Both of these schools have beaten Hopkins this year, and I'm just thinking, if you had put those three in the 4-team bracket, like a CFP style format, that would have been insane.
Yeah, if you get that, maybe if you played that at the Target Center or something like a round robin kind of thing, even just in the middle of the year, I think that would be a really, really cool showcase. Get those top teams.
Well, when you have that cycle, if you will, as Kate Haskins missed the deep three heat. I mean, how often does that happen where a 4A champion, they beat the 2A champion, lost to the 3A champion. The 2A champ, beat the 3A champ.
Yeah, it's a crazy circle that honestly, I'm just enjoying the ride. I'm glad I get to watch it. It's just really fun to see such good basketball.
And we're getting plenty of it for Eden Prairie. And I noticed this when they were sophomores and they beat Minneapolis North. They are a zippy bunch. The guards move the ball. They're fluid. They have terrific ball movement, and that's why they can create so many opportunities on offense when you create space like they do.
One thing I'd say, DeLaSalle, maybe a little bit of a weakness is they don't have a ton of shooters outside of Haskins. A lot of the rest of the guys, Irvin, Hart, White, they're all just mostly ball movers and really good defenders. Smart players in their own right, but not as knockdown shooters. So I think Eden Prairie has a little bit of easier time with them not having to play as tight up to their wings.
Jalen Travis with the three-point attempt and a foul on Eden Prairie. It's on Will Foster. And I wonder if Travis Bledsoe throughout the season has encouraged those guys to become more assertive, because last year it was easier to be ball movers because you had Tyrell Terry among your ranks and Jamison Battle, two high-level D1 commits. Now they're still talented. We know that much. But like you said, a lot of guys, Kate Haskins, he didn't come on the scene until this year because of eligibility rules. So there he is again. And if he can get going, as you said, if he knocks down a few more threes, that could get DeLaSalle back in a hurry. But sometimes it takes some work, as you know, to become assertive, get those guys in a mindset where I'll move the ball, but if I have to, I will come up with a big play.
Yeah, that's a confidence thing. I mean, we saw White knock down a three-pointer early. I kind of wish we'd see him be a little bit more assertive himself after he hits one. Maybe that's not in the game plan, but either way, DeLaSalle's going to need some form of offense. Let's see if he hits that one. He does.
K'Wan White, his second triple. And DeLaSalle looking for a boost of momentum. That could be it. Austin Andrews didn't like what he saw down low, had a double team, and wisely passes out. Traveling violation. I noticed this, they moved the student section for DeLaSalle. Used to be on the right side from what we're looking at. Now they moved it to the far left side.
Here comes the clap.
And in a gym this small, it gets noisy in a hurry. And there was no lack of noise even at North Maranatha. It wasn't a sellout crowd, but the twists and turns of the boys' game led to a lot of loud cheering. DeLaSalle really patient in these half-court sets. They don't try to force it. White thought about it. Will reset. A lot of long skips. Now a pump fake by Andrew Irvin.
Again, they're doubling down on Travis if he's looking for a post touch, as they did right there.
White fed it to Travis, but he couldn't get around Austin Andrews. Didn't have a lot of space to work with. A little side fade. Bullseye! Drake Dobbs. And you have to wonder for this Eden Prairie team, could this be the year? As you said, you thought they were going to be favorites to win a couple years ago. Didn't work out that way, but 4A basketball, the parity is just insane year after year. Kate Haskins, that's a deep three, and it's pure. And likewise, Minnehaha's the favorite in 3A, but as we've seen this year, they're not invincible. DeLaSalle If they get a good game, who knows? And now the three-point bank is open. And Eden Prairie, they're so balanced, we don't talk about this. They've got a lot of three-point shooters.
They do. Every guy in their lineup is a threat from three. Christensen, I think, is honestly their most consistent guy, and he doubles as their best rebounder and one of their best defenders as well. But Henry, like we say, is a knockdown three-point guy. Drake Dobbs might have the best range of all of their shooters. And Miles Frisch really burst onto the scene this summer as a killer three-point shooter as well.
All seniors. DeLaSalle feeds it inside. Irvin with the dime. Kwan White squeezes through the hole. But Eden Prairie, in a way, they're the personification of the modern-day NBA game. Layups, three-pointers.
I think we're starting to see that across the high school levels now. I mean, a mid-range jumper is all right as Dobbs fires another one.
There's an example.
A mid-range jumper is all right as long as it's not a contested one or you're trying to get to a certain spot and you're being resisted. We don't see a ton of those like tough Kobe-like mid-range jumpers. Rest in peace to him. But yeah, the three-pointers and layups, that's really the name of the game now, and I think a lot of high school coaches are adapting to that.
Right. Emphasis on value shots now. High percentage shots down low and three-pointers up top. Well, effective field goal percentage. Candace Wiggins, that was her strength in her later years. There's another three. Samaj Hart knocks one down. A three-point shot, a three-pointer has more value than a two. And effective field goal percentage takes that into consideration. There's another one.
15 Miles Frisch and 24.
You knew that was coming at a noisy gym like this. Of course, when you extend your range, you're going to have a few more air balls, but that's all right. Kobe Bryant had 4 of them in his first playoff series with Utah. I know I've been mentioning his name a lot this week with all the young men and women who idolized him and all the stories we've heard. I had a chance to see him in person. I didn't get a chance to meet with him specifically, but he and his daughter, big fans of the game. And for folks like Evan Boyd, perhaps, or others who have 824 or 2, I imagine these games might mean a little more now. .118 left, step back three, bullseye. Speaking of Evan Boyd, Jared, do you think we have some sort of ESP influence? We were talking about three-point shooting, and all of a sudden, the floodgates have opened.
That's all we've seen really in this last 5 or 6 minutes.
Now we get a drive down low. Austin Andrews didn't make it work, and then a foul. EP had 2 to give.
Calling the Eagles 33. Austin Andrews, his second, team 5th.
There we are with high value shots. Of course, Kobe would laugh at the face of that. And I've seen that with some of the girls and boys games as well. 45 seconds, DeLaSalle looking for a little boost.
I'm watching Connor Christensen really work hard on Cade Haskins as he comes off all of these down screens.
Boyd missing the long 2. EP can hope for the final shot, but Drake Dobbs sees the lane and the kick out, but an offensive foul.
No basket.
I think that was Boyd who got himself set up in time.
Offensive foul on the Eagles.
That would have been a 3-2 as Henry was lining it up. That could be a big swing if EP or if DeLaSalle can score in this possession.
Yeah, if they get a bucket here, I mean, you cut it to a 2-possession game, and things might be a little different going into the halftime.
Right, a 5 or 6 point swing potentially, but let's see what the Islanders do in this last possession, presumably of the first half. And they will indeed hold it for the final shot. Irvin. That was deflected, despite John Henry saying otherwise. I bet you did that all the time in Maple Grove. Even if you knew it wasn't your ball, you're like, it's our ball.
Oh, I got to play with Bridge Tussler, Osseo graduate who played at Bethel. Got to play with him for 1 year at Bethel, and he always told us to train ourselves to act like it was our ball every time that happened.
Eden Prairie got the steal and almost put it in. Brendan Donahue just short. Well, we might have to come back in a little bit to hear some of these Maple Grove Bethel stories. But what a first half. Eden Prairie got out on the jump, and they still hold an 8-point lead. But DeLaSalle, I would say, withstood that first surge. They have some work to do, but I think Kwan White knocking down those threes helped everyone else get more in rhythm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the end of the half, we saw that DeLaSalle was answering when Eden Prairie was hitting those three-pointers, like punch for punch, and I think if they want to stay in this game, if D wants to maybe be competitive in this one, they're going to have to be assertive and not be afraid to shoot those again in the second half.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens in the next 18 minutes. Stick around.
Twin Cities Sports Broadcasting, and a whole lot more. That's what you get from TSB Television. We provide long-lasting digital coverage of your favorite athletes from the preps to the pros. Dazzling moves.
Holloman, good if it goes. Yes!
Game winners.
From James. She's in trouble. Finds James. Toss shot! It goes in!
And everything in between. Before we let you go, do you want to say hi to anybody?
Oh, I don't know. That put me on the spot there.
If you want to connect with our audience, visit us at patreon.com/TSB Television or sponsor our coverage through PayPal and Cash App. Thank you for watching.
Mike Peden and Jared Martinson with you, and we're back on a little early because, Jared, what are some of your favorite Maple Grove or Bethel stories as an athlete or a broadcaster? Because I imagine you built up a lot over the years as a player and a commentator.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I played at Bethel. I'll start with Maple Grove, my high school career. I was fortunate enough to play with a lot of really good players. 3 guys went Division I in my time there, including my best friend, Reed Nicko, who's at Missouri, actually starting a lot of games for them right now, playing really well. Brad Davison, love him or hate him at Wisconsin. He's one of my good friends as well. And then Taiwan Pickford, who's at Northern Iowa right now. We had a lot of great times. We had a really good team my junior and senior year. I went to state when I was a senior. I'll never forget, though, my sophomore year. Brad was a freshman. Our best player is a starting point guard. And we cut off Osseo's 41-game home winning streak at their place in February, about 6 years ago to the day. And I just remember vividly when that shot went in, everything changed for our basketball program for the next however many years, 4 or 5 years. We were in that top tier. Everything changed. It was really, really fun to be around a bunch of guys like that. I didn't play a whole lot since obviously Reed was at my position, so he played in front of me a ton. But I really just enjoyed being a part of that team. A lot of great memories. And then I got to continue that for a couple years at Bethel. Stopped playing after my sophomore year so I could focus on more stuff like this, writing and broadcasting and things of the like. I'm a journalism major, graduating this spring. So a ton of great things that have gone on in my life in regards to basketball. And I get to watch it as much as I want now, which is really, really fun.
Now, there was a long line for the concession stands at the half, and the walking tacos might have something to do with that, but no peanut butter or cupcakes on the menu.
No,
what gives?
Sorry, TC Hoops are. We don't have any peanut butter to rub on the camera lens or cupcake candles to shove into our mouths.
You know what? If you're going to be at the DeLaSalle Minnehaha series, that gives us some time.
Yeah, maybe we can prepare
for
that.
To find some cupcakes, we can bring some in.
Yeah, definitely. I do think, though, that this broadcast is the best in the history of Western civilization.
All we're missing are some volcanoes. Second half underway. Eden Prairie up 34-26. Make it 37-26 as Drake Dobbs hits another three-pointer, his third. You're mentioning that Maple Grove team. I remember because you got to play the Timberwolves shootout. I think the last one.
The final year of it, yeah.
Before they went on hiatus. And remember, you also made state. And for those years, that's all you heard about was Maple Grove. Well, all the other teams too. Jalen Travis scores. Now, he only had 4 points in the first half. if they can feed him inside, I know they're doubling him up in there. That could be an area where DeLaSalle picks up some points. And for EP, no surprise, their big four spread it out. Dobbs at 8 in the first half, Henry 9, Christensen and Andrews with 7. Irvin backs off, and I don't see anyone from overtime here, but this game attracting some attention. As you know, with Jalen Suggs and Paige Beckers, it seems to attract all the cell phone and DSLRs, everybody with their highlight accounts.
Yeah, you're not seeing a lot of that tonight. Only a couple video cameras on the baseline, but still, whether there's cameras or not, one of the better games we'll see really all year, one of the better matchups.
Well, I'm sure there'll be plenty for Minnehaha EP. Miles Frisch pump fakes the 3, kicks back out to Austin Andrews. Feeds it inside to Henry. Finds an open. That's 24. Christensen couldn't read the number at first. He missed the 3. Key opportunity here for the Islanders. Their only 2 losses have come to Minneapolis North and Brandon Valley in South Dakota. Part of the Hoop City Challenge, or Hoop City Classic at the Corn Palace. I know DeLaSalle in the past has played at the Pentagon, and my buddy Carl Pearson and Steve Bruce, the Minnesota Buckets guy, they say Corn Palace, Pentagon, 2 of the premier venues if you ever get a chance to visit and watch a basketball game. Those are 2 places you got to see. I
actually got to play at the Pentagon one time, summer before my senior year on the AAU circuit. So that main floor, really, really cool. Just a place that you wouldn't expect to be as big as it is, but just such a cool, cool venue.
I heard that the Pentagon will now host as DeLaSalle gets a steal. Count it for Andrew Irvin, his first basket of this game. Irvin averaging 6.7, just 2 double-digit scores for the Islanders in Haskins and Travis, but some of the others like Amir Whitlock, although he's not playing, Kwan White, they can chip in points when they need to. And that's a big momentum swing perhaps for DeLaSalle.
Yeah, I think the second half is where you really might start to see these guards shine offensively. I know Irvin's been a big catalyst for that kind of stuff in the second half. Haskins kind of gets keyed in on now after a whole half of playing against him. Doesn't get the open looks that he might usually get. And that's where Irvin comes in and might make a big difference.
He missed the 3-point play, but it's a 7-point game. Not anymore. Henry drills the 3 from the top of the key. 40-30. And that 3-point stroke of Eden Prairie is keeping DeLaSalle at bay. Offensive foul. Now, I know Minnehaha's got some 3-point shooters, but I'm already thinking to that matchup on February 18th, and if EP's shooting like this, I know you've got Chet Holmgren and Jalen Suggs, but Chet's not going to be hanging out on the outside as much on defense. I see a way where EP perhaps could make a run. Here's another 3. Bullseye. John Henry, all he's done is hit 3-pointers. He has 5.
They're really giving him the Haskins treatment almost, running him off of those pin downs. Specifically, I saw on that play, they set a double stagger on the baseline to get him to the corner. Just smart, expert play by David Flom to set those things up for his hot hand.
14-41 in the second half. Eden Prairie up 43-30. And what can we say? The 3-point shooting, if it's going in, no matter who you are, good things can happen. And that's what we're seeing tonight for Eden Prairie.
Yeah, really just everything we've seen all year. They are just so consistent. They don't have an off night. It's really, really cool to see how zoned in they are, how focused they are. That's a testament to the hard work they put in over the summer all together. Andrews, Dobbs, and Christensen all play in the same D1 Minnesota AAU team. Henry played with an elite group of guys on Fury. There's just a lot of continuity with that team that really is unprecedented for this day and age.
Now, this is an interesting selection for timeout music, a little journey. Black and yellow is the intro music, which I'm wondering why it took them so long to use. With 14:41 left in the second half. How many of these kids do you think would know this song? Don't Stop Believing by Journey?
Oh, it's still a cult classic. It's an icon.
Kind of like Africa.
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
Well, Weezer covered it, so that, of course, brought it back into.
Brought it back, yeah. Don't Stop Believing, yeah, that's one everyone knows.
And someone set up a speaker system so it's constantly playing on solar power somewhere in Africa. The Africa song, not the Journey song. And if I don't stop, the wheels in the sky are going to keep on turning with these musical references. That's about all I'm good for with these broadcasts, as you know, folks. Pop culture references. There's a reason I've never been paired with Bill Walton. We would never talk about the game.
At least this one's not too much of a blowout, so we can still focus on it a little bit. I had a Bethel women's game today where the Royals beat McAllister 82-41, and for most of that second half, it was tough.
Offensive rebound for the Islanders. A couple of threes can't go in. Well, if this becomes a blowout, we just might send you to Maui and you can terrorize all the locals out there.
If this becomes a blowout, might have to bring TC Hoopstar down from the balcony and get him on the call.
If you haven't picked up on it by now, the three of us usually ping each other when Bill Walton's calling a game because we can't get enough of him. He's just so out there.
There are nights where he absolutely owns Twitter. I'll search his name, and there are countless people talking about either how awful Bill Walton is, how much they can't stand him, or how he's the greatest person in the history of the Western civilization.
Well, I've become close. There have been some times, though, where I've brought in fonts. I have an encyclopedic memory of fonts, and that's come into a broadcast discussion. I'm hoping it doesn't get to that point. But Eden Prairie in position to pull away here. Austin Andrews, that's something we haven't seen often, a baseline drive.
Yeah, really nice hesitation move there. Froze Travis on his hip. Just gave him a little bit of space to put that in on the baseline. They are really helping out for Irvin.
Well, Irvin has just 2 points, and White, not on the floor, only has a couple of those threes. Travis and Haskins, the focal point of Eden Prairie's defense. And that may not surprise you when you look at the numbers, but it's interesting to see how much double teams have gone their way.
Yeah, and with Eden Prairie, I mean, they don't have a size advantage. Andrews is their biggest guy, around 6'5", 6'6", but I don't know. They're crafty. They're really tough on the boards, on defense everywhere, and it's fun to watch them kind of play chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
A foul on Eden Prairie, and then a technical on Austin Andrews.
John Henry, I think.
On Henry, okay. You're right, Henry got hit with a tee.
Original foul call on the Eagles 13, John Henry is first. Then a technical foul call on the Eagles, John Henry is second.
He was pointing at Andrews, so I wasn't quite sure, at least from up here.
Yeah, I think it was a later call. I think Henry said something in passing while he was walking away, and that's what spurred the technical.
Yeah. As you know, technicals count as personals at this level, but Haskins missing both. And the EP fans applaud. So a little gamesmanship among the fan bases here. Josh Thorough, we mentioned him earlier, and his circular connection to this game. Remember, he was a replacement ref back in 2012. Ref for 3 games, was not involved in that infamous Packers-Seahawks game. Although he told me his crew did not get a whole lot of complaints compared to the others. But Josh, he had cut his chops reffing football and basketball at that point.
Yeah, he's a well-respected ref. Even if he doesn't do it all the time, he's the Minnehaha athletic director.
I was going to say he's busy putting the schedules together for the Redhawks, but
with as good a team as they have now, I mean, he's probably got his hands full.
Like you said, a lot of respect. And if you've ever got the chance to do an NFL game again, he would jump at it. He's a big football fan. He's, as you may have seen, he's a big fan of sports. Offensive rebound for Connor Christensen after the drive wasn't successful. Here's Will Foster. Oh, what a nice cut! Cole Tieran.
That's the Eden Prairie way. I mean, that's their 7th and 8th guys getting involved in the game and making a big play. That's Will Foster handing it off on a back cut to Cole Tieran. Just, I mean, we talk about the top 4 so much. It's those guys 6, 7, 8, 9 that rubs off on them, and they get to make those plays too.
And we should point out those 6, 7, 8, 9 guys, they're going to be moving up to 1, 2, 3, 4 next year. It's all seniors on the starting 5. So Tieran and Foster, they're going to be getting a lot of time next year. And kind of like DeLaSalle, we'll have to see as Jalen Travis fires the 3, no good. Rebound Boyd. Look for Travis. Drake Dobbs was there. We'll have to see if what Eden Prairie has established these last few years carries over. Dobbs. Ooh, I thought he had an opening down low. Went for the kick out instead. It didn't pay off, but 17-point lead, that gives us some breathing room. You know, at DeLaSalle and North, you've seen how the formula has carried over, where even if you don't have superstars, you find a way to win games. Can Eden Prairie sustain that when they lose that big 4 that we've talked about for the last 3 years? Cade Haskins, 3 in and out.
Right, and that the Eden Prairie way is to always have talent in the pipeline. I think it's just who Eden Prairie is in all sports, really. They're dominant in just about everything. I remember playing them my junior year of high school. They had guys up and down the lineup, really 9 or 10 deep, that really could be college basketball level players. I don't think there's any doubt that there's more coming up. And David Flom is just the icing on the cake. A great coach, always puts his teams up for the challenge. Like you said earlier, wanted this game at DeLaSalle instead of at Eden Prairie.
And that's in spite of their undefeated record. That includes some big road wins. Eastridge, one of them. Big one over Hopkins, at Hopkins. So it's kind of funny that, we want to see if we can win here when you've already won everywhere else.
They've been winning everywhere, yeah.
Like you said, Flom, Larry McKenzie, Jerry Klein at Cretin-Durham Hall, they're not afraid to schedule tough. They like the challenge.
I mean, we look at Minnehaha as well. They decided to cut a bunch of conference games this year.
They're only playing 1 round of conference play.
Yeah, why use up those games when both teams know it's a foregone conclusion? They decided to go down to Waseca, go down to Caledonia, play in a bunch of other neutral events that really get them a lot of exposure around the Midwest.
Absolutely.
And against bigger outstate teams too.
Playing a Wisconsin team tonight, Sierra Canyon, we'll never forget that day.
Right, they just beat that Wisconsin game tonight down in La Crosse. They beat La Crosse Central 73-64. And La Crosse Central is one of the best teams in the second biggest division in Wisconsin.
So that's 2 wins against out-of-state teams for the Redhawks.
Actually 3 on. They beat Onalaska as well.
That's right. I forgot about Onalaska. Will Foster, his 3's off the mark. And going back to the parity discussion in the first half, hold on, 3 on the way, you bet. And Eden Prairie pulling away. Well, this game may not be as indicative, but the parity, Minnehaha, 3 wins against out-of-state teams, and they lost against Cretin-Durham Hall and Hopkins. Now, they're 2 blue bloods. So those aren't bad losses, but just funny how things work out like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nothing's guaranteed. Everyone can have an off day. I mean, we're just lucky to see that Eden Prairie hasn't had one yet somehow, playing just as tough of a schedule as they have. Really, I look up and down their schedule, I would say only 2 teams are below average level teams that they've played so far. Their conference does them no favors. Even with the added St. Michael, Albertville, and Buffalo teams so far, those teams are both very, very respectable. You get Cretin-Durham Hall, Prior Lake, Eastview, North St. Paul is back into their winning ways now. Lakeville North,
10 in a row now.
Shakopee, Chaska, just up and down. Park Center, they tore apart last week. I got to see that game. It's just really amazing, the body of work they're building up. Like you said, beating 8 of the other 9 top 10 teams so far this season. Just really an unbelievable run here by Eden Prairie, and I really hope that they can be rewarded with a state championship or something close to it.
And you told me this, looking ahead, they go on the road to play Cambridge Santa. You said that's an underrated team. Maybe they could make a splash. Minnehaha, that is a game where that undefeated record may be in jeopardy. And then we haven't even talked about Section 2, Murderers Row for the last 5-10 years.
That's the case study for why Class 4A should go to a completely seeded tournament.
I mean, Shakopee and Chaska. Prior Lake has Dawson Garcia, one of the top recruits.
Edina's no slouch.
And if Hudson comes back,
yeah, they
I didn't get to see him.
Extremely good across the board. Like, even the 8th seed in that section or the 7th seed, I wouldn't want to see Bloomington Jefferson with the style they play. Just grind it out, games in the 40s and 50s. Every game in that section is a trap, and Eden Prairie will absolutely be tested to, like, nose to the grindstone all the way through.
And it's just crazy how it's been that way for the last few years. But if it's not EP, it's Chaska, Prior Lake. If Dawson Garcia has a big game, I know EP and played Prior Lake, beat them by 21. But those results from the regular season, as Dobbs drains the runner, you got to throw them out when it comes to sections, and we've seen that.
A lot of people took Prior Lake last year to win that section, and then Eden Prairie really handled them pretty easily on Prior Lake's home floor. Somehow Prior Lake got a home game in the section final, and Eden Prairie took it to them.
That's been the case in Section 2 now, where the high seed,
the high seed gets
posts
it,
all the way.
Oh, there's Jalen Travis. Nice seal.
That hasn't happened enough for DeLaSalle. So EP, they could go undefeated, but there's a chance. I don't know how much of one, but there is a legitimate chance that they may not even get out of their section. And anyone watching this, I'm not saying they're overrated. It's just the section is that good, and it's been that way for years.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, this is no knock on other sections, but there are others that are really not even 10% as strong.
Where you don't have like a 1 through 5, and like you said, the 6 and 7 seeds you wouldn't want to see in the first round.
Right.
Section 4 has been that way too.
We could get a 4-5 game in that section between 2 top 10 teams. That is how good that section is.
And I remember DeLaSalle, they've been in Section 6. There was one year, I think 15-16, where half of the top 10 teams in 3A were all in that group.
Yeah, they all had like really, really strong winning records.
And it's a shame that they all have to knock each other out, which is why, you've been proposing this. I know I want to see it, that NCAA style 64-team tournament.
Yeah, I'm looking at Section 6 3A right now. DeLaSalle on top of it. Waconia not far behind. They've had a really solid season. They've played some tough competition too, but again, they won't be able to touch the star power that DeLaSalle has, I don't think. And after that, some teams that are all right. Henry, Mound West Tonka has some good players, but DeLaSalle, I think, is going to be the favorite again going into state.
I know at the start of the season, our buddy Hoopsar, he keeps coming up. Well, he's a mutual friend of ours. With his predictions, he likes to make them because he either laughs at how accurate they are or how hilariously off the mark. And he had said DeLaSalle would still be the favorite because of their history, but not the runaway favorite in Section 6 like previous years. But when you've got Cade Haskins, even though he hasn't had the best of games tonight, that's a good foundation, and he'll be back next year. So DeLaSalle, they'll have Haskins to build around, and I imagine with the history of this school, it won't take long. As you were saying earlier, schools like Cretin-Durham Hall, another one, DeLaSalle, there's always another guy that joins the lineup that we don't hear about.
Right, and I'm looking at DeLaSalle's roster right now at all the juniors that play for them. Kawan White, Amir Everett saw some time. He's just a sophomore. Haskins, obviously. Evan Boyd's a junior as well. So just some names that have really big-time varsity experience now that will be able to come back and lead them probably to another state appearance.
We'll see what happens in 3A. And speaking of challenges, Minnehaha opted to class up to 3A. White fires the 3, no good. They didn't have to. Enrollment-wise, they could still be in 2A, but they said, let's try something new, something different. How often do you get that? I think the only other example I can think of is Totino Grace in football, where they chose to opt up to 6A. And the amusing thing is DeLaSalle, when they won all those titles in 3A, everyone's wondering, why don't you play in 4A? Well, there's more to it than that.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
EP.
You're never going to satisfy everyone when in that kind of situation, but you just do what you can. I respect them a lot for moving up to 3A. Honestly, I would not have had a problem with them staying in 2A. But people will always push for that private school only tournament that people want to see happen, or all private schools have to move up to 4A. There's just way more to it than that.
It's really noticeable in hockey. Whoever wins in Class A is all of a sudden too good. And I remember John Henry scored the last bucket for Eden Prairie, by the way, but Dave Thorson, he got asked that question a lot, and he said it's a matter of enrollment. Could DeLaSalle hold their own in 4A? Absolutely, but you don't do it just to please your social media haters, if you will, because then what, if you win in 4A, what? Now all of a sudden you can't play against... I don't get too wrapped up around it, maybe because I don't have a dog in any of these fights, but you know, I enjoy watching good basketball. The only thing that disappoints me is that there's no way to get all the champions, especially in a year like last year, together to see, all right, who'd win a 4-team playoff? If you took the 4 champions and had them go against each other, like the Sweet 16 in the mid-90s. You weren't around for that, but Minneapolis North made a splash, and Drake Dobbs and the rest of EP making a splash here.
I think this is the first time that I've noticed that Eden Prairie has given up 8 DeLaSalle points this half.
Against a team that scores 69 a game. DeLaSalle, their season low before tonight was 51 in that loss to North. They have 34 points.
Yeah, just a testament to Eden Prairie's commitment on the defensive end. They came in with a game plan. They knew that they could sag off of guys like White and Irvin and Hart, and they've done a really great job doubling down on Jalen Travis and making it life difficult for Kid Haskins.
And Travis trying to get his three-point range going. Hey, if Chet Holmgren's knocking down threes, that's the way the game is going. As you said, you've got 7-footers. Well, Jalen's not that tall, but 6'8". His brothers are just as big. And EP says, right back at you. John Henry, do you think he watched any Steph Curry tape growing up?
I bet.
Or James Harden?
Right.
Because he's,
like, these guys...
He has 7 triples.
There are so many comparisons that you can make. I mean, John Henry reminds me almost of a Kyle Korver type. Connor Christensen, insert any 3-and-D wing that you want in the NBA right now, and that's his fit. Drake Dobbs is very Curry-like. He's got the range that you'd compare that to. Austin Andrews, really, I think he's one of a kind with how he uses his lack of size, but his speed and his agility and his finishing touch to really make life really hard for opposing big men.
Well, kind of like how Wayne Gretzky became great in hockey, undersized, but using his speed to his advantage. Connor Christensen using ball movement, because you don't have to be the biggest player in the case of Austin Andrews. But if you know where to be, as we've seen a lot with Eden Prairie, cuts down low, three-pointers, they know where to be positioned, and they've been together for so long. You have the continuity, the chemistry that DeLaSalle is trying to recapture after they lost a couple of D1 commits last year to graduation. And how many times in the NCAA tournament when those upset-minded schools, those double-digit seeds, beat the Blue Bloods?
Looks like we'll start to see some benches clearing for Eden Prairie.
Well, that will not go on John Henry's highlight mixtape at the end of the season. You know, trying to get an exclamation point. DeLaSalle, they'll score. Evan Boyd. So, Jaron, I know we talked about this before. Is this the year EP finally captures a basketball title?
You know, selfishly, I'll say I really hope so. I picked them both of the last 2 years. They came up a little short, ran out of gas. I mean, they've always been a small rotation kind of team, 6 or 7 guys by the time postseason comes around. But this year, they're just in a rhythm that I've never seen before out of anybody, really. I mean, I kind of think of the Cretan team from 2 years ago that had the dream lineup of Ryan Larson, Oturu, Jaden King, Jake Prince, those guys that were just like on a string working every game, all cylinders. And Eden Prairie is just kind of on that level right now that I really hope continues throughout the rest of the season. I mean, and you never know who gets hot. It just takes one game to fall apart. But I really hope that Eden Prairie gets their fair shot at the state tournament, at a state championship. That'd be really fun to see it all come together for this senior squad.
Well, I agree with you. They are a strong contender. And with all the accolades that have come for football and hockey over the years, as Cade Haskins drills the three, you know, much like Apple Valley, they had all those wrestling titles before the Jones brothers came in and finally gave them some basketball hardware. Got them 2 titles. 3 titles. 13, 15, 17.
13, 15, 17.
And then Cretan-Durham Hall won in 18. That's right.
Yeah, and those 15 and 17 ones I remember vividly. We played Apple Valley in the St. Cloud Breakdown Grant City Classic my junior year, that class of 15 year. Man, were they tough. And they beat that undefeated Champlin team both in 15 and 17. Really cool to see them pull that off in 2 out of 3 years.
And for Eden Prairie, you know, as you said, across the board, they're often competitive in whatever sport they're in, but football and hockey get a lot of the headlines. So for boys basketball to join that conversation, I'm sure that would be a dream. But the Eagles know there's still a month to play, 1 game at a time, and they take this one 61-42 over DeLaSalle. 18 points allowed in the second half, and they hold DeLaSalle to a season low. That speaks volumes to their defense.
Yeah, I'm just really impressed overall. I mean, this one felt like it was the score was a little different than what it felt like. Felt like it was a little closer because of the atmosphere, I think. But overall, I'm going to look back on this game and be like, Eden Prairie was in control the entire way. It was just, I mean, there was some going back and forth late in the first half, exchanging 3-pointers. But wow, was that a dominant performance against another one of the top 7, 8 teams, regardless of class, in Minnesota.
Makes me excited to see them against Minnehaha. And, well, I'd be excited to work with you again. I'm not sure how our schedules will align, but we got to do this again so that Hoopsar has enough time to get a cupcake and peanut butter run.
It was an honor to be on with you, Mike. Really enjoyed doing this. Nice to step away from the play-by-play mic and get a little color commentary in on my resume.
And you can see him back on the play-by-play side at Bethel University. Just pay a visit. Where can we find you there?
At BethelRoyals.com, you can find all of our live streams and on-demand broadcasts.
So if you want to check him out on the play-by-play side and see if he truly is better than me, I think you can make a case for it. Check out BethelRoyals.com. But it's Eden Prairie who wins the night 61-42. And for Jaron Martinson and the rest of our crew, I'm Mike Peden. Thanks for watching High School Boys Basketball.